Okay. Well, we got a pretty good agenda today, and we have a good showing of folks joining us. So why don't we go ahead and get started? I want to welcome everybody to the 270th convening of the Broadband Hui, and this is the third Wednesday of the month of May. And yeah, anyway, I'm glad everybody could join us, and we'll go ahead and proceed with some sort of quick introductions, and then we'll get into our agenda. Okay, now with that, let's see. I'll start off. My name is Bert Lum. I'm the digital equity coordinator here at the Hawaii Broadband office, and happily kind of co-convening with Chrissy. And Chrissy, I don't know if you want to say anything. I know she's driving. She's over at the Waianae Coast Comprehensive Health Center.
Yeah, aloha kako, everyone. It's graduation season, as we all know. So headed here and there for different graduation ceremonies and watching our haumana go out and be our next generation of leaders. Great to have everyone.
Great, thanks, Chrissy. And then you know, let's see. I wanted to do some quick introductions. I'll save the speaker introductions for when we actually do that part of the presentation. But I did want to, let's see. Well, we sure have a lot of note takers on this particular call. I did want to give Claudine a chance to introduce Caden, and you know, this is a great opportunity to kind of provide a little bit of transition from our friends over at Maui County. So, Claudine, do you want to do a quick intro?
Sure. I'm Claudine San Nicolas Perry from County of Maui, Office of the Mayor. I am now the outgoing broadband officer in the mayor's office, and I'm happy today to introduce Kadian Shaw, who is also in the hi Daniel in the mayor's office, and she is our new broadband officer. Of course, we're in transition, so thank you guys for and thank you, Bert, for allowing me to introduce Kadian. And so I'll let Kadian speak very briefly.
Yeah, Kadian,
of you.
Why don't you go ahead and say a few words? I mean, how long have you been over at the county?
Aloha. Hi, everybody. I'm Kadian. I made a year yesterday. I'm in the Office of the Mayor. I'm an executive assistant, and my focus is on the environment and conservation issues. But when you're an executive assistant, you do what you can to support the team. So while Claudine is transitioning out, I will be transitioning in. So I will be the point of contact for broadband moving forward. I'm looking forward to working with you all, and I'm excited to learn about broadband. So happy to be here.
Gideon, we welcome you and happy that we could include you on the Broadband Hui call. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Claudine, this is the first, really kind of the first public announcement of Kadian's role as the broadband representative for Maui County. So right. Thanks, Claudine, for having broken the story here on the Broadband Hui.
Welcome. You're welcome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you to Kadian. I believe Kadian's going to stay on, and I'll have my camera off and have it on. One of the reasons I just want you guys to know about very quickly is that the mayor's office is now piloting a new division called the Grants Oversight and Leadership Division. I just got the numbers in. Maui County, one of its statistics, I think it could be interesting to the Broadband Hui, is that we just in FY26 manage $132+ million in grants, as in we award it for a variety of topics. And then incoming, that's money that we receive and apply for, 103 million. So we've decided, and the county council has approved, to have one division that kind of has oversight on all of that, 232 million plus in grants. It doesn't mean we're doing them, it's just some oversight. And so as a result of that, beginning July 1st, I'm a part of that team that's going to take care of that. That's going to be a part of that moving forward. So that is why I'm going out of broadband. But I also want to say thank you to the Broadband Hui for their patience as I tried. I'm about a year with the broadband officer, but I have every confidence in Katie and that, and we're in the same office, so she can come to me anytime. And we're also, Kadian's very aware already that we will be the host, Maui County will be the host this year for Hoiki 2026. And we do look forward to talking to all of you about it and for Bert to give us the time when we're ready. But she just started, Kadian just started. So Constancio, I know I saw you. You're going to support, and we know we're going to have a lot of partners who are in the Hui that will help us with putting that together. But thank you so much. That's it.
Yeah, thanks, Claudine and Katie, and we promise to be gentle with you over the course of your onboarding, and I'll be sure to make sure that Claudine doesn't go very far. Thank you. Okay, so I do want to share something with you all. It's a little bit somber, but I do want to kind of let you know that you know, a good friend of ours, Riley Saito, passed away, and this is a photo of him with Amber and myself back on the Big Island when we were doing an event. But I just wanted to, you know, do a short moment of silence, and then I'll share a little bit about, you know, why Riley played such a big role, you know, with the Broadband Hui. So why don't we just have a moment of silence? He passed on Friday, so I'll give it maybe 15 seconds. Thanks everybody for recognizing you know, Riley Saito and that short 15-second moment of silence. You know, I just wanted to say that Riley was one of the key persons that came to my assistance back in, I think it was probably around 2022-ish, and that's when we first sort of partnered with the County of Hawaii to be co-conveners of the Broadband Hui. You know, when we first started, you know, we were kind of partnering up with Transform Hawaii Government and you know, Jeannie Skog from Skog Rasmussen. And then I thought it would be a good idea to have one of the counties be our partner. And Riley has been a real strong supporter back then, you know, with some mapping ideas and putting GIS to work. So, you know, he and Shola were instrumental in the formation of the Hui. And I just wanted to recognize, you know, Riley Saito, who was previous, after the role that he played at Hawaii County, he went over to Melha and was with Melha basically all up until, you know, this past Friday when he passed. So if I do hear any information about, you know, the details on his services, you know, I'll be sure to let you all know. But I did want to kind of take this time to just kind of recognize Riley and share that with you all. Okay, so with that, I'm going to move on now quickly to our actual agenda. And what I wanted to start off with, and I know Senator Keokalole is patiently waiting. I have him on tap for a presentation about the bill that was passed, SB3001. But before we do that, we typically do the kind of the manao of the day. And this is something that I wanted to share with you all. Okay, let's see. Okay, so, you know, can you guys see this? Okay, so the month of May happens to be Heritage Month for Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islanders. And I was, you know, thinking about things that have been quite kind of impactful and could represent some of the strong themes of what we do here, you know, at the Broadband Hui. And I was thinking about navigation, and I thought maybe, you know, I'd find something about Papa Mao. And Papa Mao is from Sarawak, and he is one of the key fellows that helped to revive navigation, you know, in Hawaii. He was one that actually revived the ability to do sort of celestial navigation with Nainoa Thompson, and back in 1976 helped to launch Hokulea. And you know, this is an interesting time because in 2026 is the 50th anniversary of a number of things that happened back in 1976, and the Polynesian Voyaging Society is one of them. And Papa Mao, I did meet him on Kaho'olawe, and one of the quotes that he shares, and I thought this was kind of appropriate since, you know, we have a number of navigators, you know, on this call. And his quote is, "If you are not fierce, you're not a palu or navigator. You will be afraid of the sea, of the storms or reefs. With fierceness," and I would, you know, I could see where fierceness and fearlessness could be interwoven here. "You will not die, for you will face all danger." So anyway, that's the kind of the manao of the day, and I wanted to share with you in recognition of you know, AANHPI Heritage Month, and to recognize Papa Mao from Sarawak, which is out in Yap, for helping to revive, you know, celestial navigation and Hokulea, and how, you know, the whole navigation in Hawaii is really there to help spread aloha. So I wanted to share that with you, and thanks for listening. Okay, with that, now I will turn it over to Senator Kiokalole. Senator, are you okay with driving and talking at the same time?
I am not driving. You see, I'm on the passenger side, everyone. I've done passenger side social media videos and got all tore up. So I'm starting with the disclosure that I am not at the wheel. We actually, when we converted the legislature to Zoom and YouTube during the pandemic, it took a while for us to figure out how to facilitate that in a, you know, like a smooth fashion. And people started to adopt it really quickly, so much so that we've all had to adopt a standing rule that testifiers must pull over in order to give testimony at the legislature. So anyway, thanks so much for having me on. SB3001 is a measure that was introduced, that I introduced and that we passed in the legislative session to address AI chatbots. It's to try and start putting some guardrails on the development of AI interaction, especially with children and people that are in vulnerable states of mind, folks that may be displaying suicidal tendencies. You know, I've tried to explain to people in the community the development of AI really, in a lot of ways, I think mirrors the development of the automobile roughly 100 years ago. You know, it took a long time and unfortunately a lot of harm to people in the community before we realized that you shouldn't drink alcohol and drive cars, that you should put guardrails up along ridge lines, that you should put speed limits up around schools, that you should wear seatbelts. It took approximately 75 years before the community sort of universally adopted seatbelt requirements. And so what we want to do is try and avoid the obvious harms in the development of AI without completely stifling the innovation that's going to be really great and useful. So what the bill does is it sets 3 real baseline requirements on AI platforms that provide chatbot services to consumers in Hawaii. The first is that they need to regularly disclose that the user is conversing with artificial intelligence. The second is that there need to be clear protocols in place for users that are demonstrating suicidal ideation or self-harm tendencies. There need to be clear off-ramps. There are some really sad instances around the world, Australia, across the United States, of, like if you guys interact with chatbots like ChatGPT, they're sort of pre-programmed to validate any question you ask. And so we have some really sad instances where users were displaying suicidal ideas and the chatbots helped them explore those ideas. So there's a requirement in the bill that when those tendencies present with the users, that there be clear and demonstrative off-ramps in the chat so that people don't walk themselves into harm. And that there are also protocols if individuals are displaying potential violent behavior externally out to the community. You're not allowed to use ChatGPT in Hawaii to search for rifles for sale and then coordinate that with, searching a map of the school and what time Miss Kaneshige shows up for class. So, and then the last piece is that when there are clear indications that the user is a minor, that the application restrict content that's inappropriate, especially content that's sexual in nature, or chat protocols that are intended to discourage disengagement, to keep the user on and continuing to talk. We had some instances of minors engaging in sort of role-playing relationships with chatbots. And the chatbots were displaying really toxic relationship tendencies in these role-play scenarios. And so we just don't want any of that to apply in Hawaii. There are pretty clear emerging standards for those requirements across the country. AI platforms are on notice, most notably because Meta lost a recent lawsuit on this topic in New Mexico. A jury awarded victims $375 million in penalties because Meta knew that the chatbot was intentionally keeping the user engaged despite the fact that they were displaying these potentially dangerous behaviors. So that's what the bill is intended to address. It's one of the first in the nation across the states. We have not seen action on this at the federal level, and so I think it's a pretty big deal. We've done a number of other bills this year on technology and AI. SB3001 prohibits the aggregated use of Ring cameras in communities without a warrant or a disclosure and a permission from the user, so that these apps cannot start coordinating mass surveillance in our neighborhoods without the consent of the user, that their Ring camera feed is being pooled for surveillance. That was a notorious that sort of stimulated that. We took action on deepfakes and also to put in more stringent requirements on social media platforms when a user wants to delete their data. So there's a lot to go on about that. I think we need to take better action on algorithms. We learned a lot this session, but that's basically what we were up to in that space. Thanks so much for listening.
Hey, thanks, Senator, and I really appreciate the fact that you've come on and share some of the work that you're doing. I know you championed this bill, and maybe I have a quick question, and I'll do it before before I call on Sean. But Senator, when you talk about the AI companions, what is it that will enforce this particular bill so that those AI AI, let's say, applications will conform to what the bill calls for. And again, you still need the governor to sign it, so there is that timeline for it actually turning into an act. But assuming that he does sign it, what would be let's say, the enforcement that would make sure that these platforms adhere to this law?
Sure, good question. It models the enforcement that took place in the state of New Mexico. We have a Uniform Deceptive Practices Act in Hawaii law that's already a part of our statute. And so what we were able to agree to is that when there are violations of this law, users can go to the Attorney General, and the Attorney General can initiate action against platforms in the same way that the state Attorney General in New Mexico sued Meta.
Okay. So that allows the states to actually take action via the legal system.
That's right. And we worked on this with the Attorney General's office. It took a lot of work. It's because it's an emerging space. We tried our very best to provide clear guidance. It's a moving target, and so we didn't get everything we wanted in the bill, but we set, I think, a reasonable baseline so that there's an obligation, and that AI platforms are on notice that they are not allowed to intentionally keep users on the platform when there is clear evidence and their algorithms should already be designed to steer kids and vulnerable people off of the toxic elements of these technologies.
Great. Okay, Sean, I see your hand up.
Thank you so much. Appreciate the presentation, Senator, and your strong work in this field. I guess for those of us who are just sort of trying to sort it out, I pointed in the chat to a couple of resources. One is Common Sense Media, which leans into protecting children. They have a long experience of First Amendment and related media issues for protecting kids. And on the other side, obviously, you had to balance this, right? You have Electronic Frontier Foundation and folks who are really focused on maintaining our freedom of speech and liberty in the use of media. Anyway, I just make that observation and wanted to thank you for your strong work.
Yeah, thank you. That was a real challenge, was balancing. We intentionally designed the bill so that it could not be construed as restricting content, because then you end up in First Amendment challenge territory. And I did not. So we worked with the Attorney General's office to do our best to make the bill nice and tight, to put these companies on notice about dangers that we already have evidence that they know and understand, and that we are not restricting content besides sexually explicit content that's inappropriate for minors, or when there's imminent risk of harm to self or others.
And then a real quick follow-up. I see Karen's hand. We've been reading about the feds threatening to withhold funding from any state that tries to regulate AI. How did you address that concern?
We made a bet that if the Trump administration was going to withhold funding because we passed the bill to protect children, that the public would be with us.
Oh, great. Right on. So thanks, Senator. Kieran?
Hi, Senator. Kieran Polk, Kapolei Chamber of Commerce. I'd also like to commend and thank you for pushing forward on this effort. My question actually kind of pigtails on what Sean just mentioned in your discussion just now about the federal constraints. You mentioned there's pushback, obviously the one you just shared. But in our congressional delegation, are you in discussion from the state level, you and other state in leadership with our CODELs? I think Senator Schatz has his eyes on a lot of this on the federal level, but I just was wondering where that sits as far as our representation in DC.
I honestly don't know the latest. I can tell you, I introduced a bill that proposed to ban social media use for age 16 and under. And, the FANGs, Facebook, Amazon, Google, Apple. They were ever present in the legislature this year. And I was pleasantly surprised that they were more freaked out about that bill than this bill. And were, in active negotiations with us all the time, all the way until the 11th hour, to try and both ask for clarity when it came to some of the terms and definitions, but also to water down the bill as much as possible. I think that's totally fair to say was my experience with them. So again, ultimately, a good example of this is we ultimately took out a prohibition on the chatbots fostering romantic exchanges with minors. And it's not because we didn't want to do it. I really, really wanted to have that provision in there. We just could not figure out a definition that wouldn't veer into the realm of content restriction that we thought they might be, that we thought they might challenge. We wanted to at least get a bill across that set some minimum guardrails for safety. And so I don't think this is the last version of this bill. If the federal government elects to take action, then they will. They've preempted the states in the broadband space. You guys know this in the Hui. The state effectively cannot regulate broadband providers in Hawaii. And so if the federal government takes action on that, I have a hard time believing that they're going to dial back any state attempts to protect children. So we tried to keep the bill simple.
Well, thank you for all your
Great.
hard work on it. Mahalo.
Yeah, thanks, Senator. And we only have time for one more question, so I wanted to hand it over to Chung.
Yeah, I just wanted to provide comment and for Hui's information. Thank you, Senator, for working on this. I do want everyone to know that in the background, we did evaluate all of the AI bills that were offered, and we made sure that if there were AI bills that would affect federal funding, we've addressed them. So the Hui knows that there are a couple of them that I've asked the chairs to defer, and we did get them deferred. So there were those that we addressed if it was it would have affected the federal funding, but this bill did not. And Senator, I completely agree with you. There are certain guardrails that we have to present, and protecting children and providing notice that you are interacting with AI is a right start. So thank you, Senator, for your work on this.
Hey, you never asked me to kill any bills, Chung.
No, I didn't.
Which of my bills did you kill?
You were.
I'm only finding out now.
None of them were on red listed. So no, yours, all of your bills. If I didn't contact you, you're all good. So the senators and representatives who were contacted, they know, and I was able to help them also to come up with, like such as what you've done, is to come up with some minimum guardrails and notification and protecting keiki. They're perfect. So this is a perfect example of how we get started with putting some guardrails on AI. So
what I'm hearing is you thought all my bills were great. Great answer, Chung.
Yes.
Man, yep. I like that, Chung.
Thank
you. Senator, I want to thank you for joining us, and really, I do want to encourage you to share some stuff that you are encountering, and the Hui is always here to listen and support your efforts. So I appreciate you coming on, and and thanks for giving us the update on SB3001. And again, if there's anything, Senator, that you want us to maybe do to help get this governor signed, we'll definitely take that into consideration.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Thanks, everybody. Nice to see you all. Have a great day.
Okay. Mahalo, Senator. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody, for all the great questions. I did have to kind of wind those questions down because I wanted to give some fair time to our next guest. And next one I wanted to welcome is Janine from Hawaiian Telecom. And they made a big announcement about Maui being fiber connected. So I wanted to give her a chance to share a little bit about that announcement. Janine, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Great. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for inviting us today to share what's happening with our fiber build throughout the state. As you noted, Chung and Claudine shared earlier that Maui became the 4th island to become fully fiber enabled. We announced that earlier this month. And if I can share my screen with you, I have a few slides just to walk through.
Sure.
So it says sharing is not turned
Okay, got
on.
it. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. It's now turned on.
Can you see this screen now?
No.
Okay. Can you see the screen now?
No.
No. Okay. Let's see. What about now?
You know, Zoom kind of changed some of the settings, and
Okay.
I'm trying to share settings. Okay. Hold on.
Let me know if you're able to.
Okay. So now you're able to share.
Okay. So and as I said, we made a announcement again earlier this month that Maui became the next fully fiber enabled state. Just wanted to go through before some facts about fiber. It is it uses light to transmit data. So data travels at the speed of light, which offers faster upload and download speeds, often symmetrical. Our service is capable now of offering up to 3 gigabytes per second throughout the state. We also are finding fiber to be more durable and resistant compared to our copper networks. And it is also helping to lower our carbon footprint, which is better for the planet. And then just a few things about how fiber transmission works. We have 3 legs of fiber that we generally transmit data through. The first mile is the data that gets transmitted into and out of the state. The middle mile is sort of like the highways that take information around the state via undersea cables or via terrestrial fiber cables, which we call backhaul. And then the last mile fiber internet, which is what I will primarily focus about today, is the last mile fiber links that take data from what we call our central offices directly to the premise of the resident or the business. Back in January 2025, after working on these projects for many years, we took a look around the country to see where we were at, where other states were in trying to fully fiber enable their states, and we saw that we were like pretty much either leading the pack or just like in that top 2 or 3, and primarily that's thanks to a significant amount of investment that we were able to secure, which is about 90% of fiber funding, leveraged through some federal grants that allowed us to build into very rural areas of the state, which basically gave us the confidence to put a stake in the ground and say, okay, we are set to complete our fiber build by the end of 2026. And where we see ourselves standing, we can see that our state will become fully fiber enabled by the end of the year. Hawaiian Telcom also operates a number of other cables, including the first mile, which is CUS, which is the newest Transpac cable that is serving our state today, and CHI, formerly known as the Japan-US cable. The link from Hawaii to the continental US is operating. The link from Japan to Hawaii has been retired. And in addition to that, we either own or co-own 3 existing inter-island cables, including Paniolo cable, which is the newest inter-island cable. And we have a planned cable called Kuanoa North, which we are building with in partnership with the NTIA through a federal grant. And that is set to go into effect in 2028. And then, as I said, we will be focusing on last mile cable, which is the links that we build between our central offices directly to the customer's doorstep. As of this date, we're about 88% on track to meet to our progress goal. As I mentioned, Maui is now the 4th island to reach full fiber status. This is after Molokai, Lanai in 2022 and Kauai, which was the end of last year. This means that Maui residents and businesses, for the most part, can now connect to our fiber network and receive very super fast broadband speeds up to 3 gigabytes. Statewide, we've invested about $1.7 billion over the last decade to build these fiber networks, and this investment includes what we are committed to for both last mile and the current middle mile network that we are planning. And we are still on track to complete our first mile build by the end of 2026. On the community level, this delivers symmetrical speeds, very high speed, that support e-commerce, online learning, remote work, telehealth, access to government services, etc. We have found that the new network was very resilient during the recent Kona low storms. I was in Maui the other weekend and was very was met by comments. Actually, Molokai the other week, and I was met by comments from residents who had connected to our fiber service, who were very happy to see that their service was able to continue, especially those who have battery backup in their homes. So long as there is generator powering our COs when we experience major outages, major electrical outages. Because of the generator backup and battery backups, we're still able to power through those outages and deliver services to community. And so that was important for some who rely very heavily on their systems to work. And we were very happy to fairly weather the effects of the Kona low storms in spite of all of the flooding. We did have a number of repairs that we had to make with some of the poles being down, but that fortunately was taken care of. And then just to get back to the overall funding, approximately 170 million of our 1.7 billion does come from federal and state broadband funding. And this is very important because it helps us reach very rural communities that may normally not be served by fixed communication systems. They would have to solely rely on Starlink and so forth. So we're doing as much as we can to build out to as many locations in our state, which we're very proud of because we have put those locations first to become fully fiber enabled, like Lanai and Molokai, and now Maui, and then the rest of the gang on Oahu and Big Island will be completed by the end of the year.
All right.
Just some quick benefits. You know, I went through some of these already. It is a much thinner footprint than fiber is a much thinner footprint than our copper cables, which our technicians like a lot because it's much easier to maintain and install. And the other benefits are improved security, much lower latency, so that meetings like this can occur as seamlessly as possible. Fiber is still the gold standard for delivering broadband internet, which means it's future proof and is meant to serve us in the state for the long term. And one of the options I like best is that it's very eco-friendly, and it's helping us lower our fiber footprint. And just a quick information about what this is like. We found fiber, because it uses much less energy to power our equipment, to transmit data. It is 100 times more energy efficient than copper. It helps us reduce our electricity cost in the homes and businesses. Fiber also helps to reduce electricity costs to the homes by about 18%. It is helping Hawaiian Telecom and our parent company Alter Fiber to reduce our carbon footprint as an operating company. We have a goal to reduce our greenhouse gas footprint by at least 40% by 2030, and to reach the state's target goal by 2045. As we continue to transform the network with fiber, we will be retiring copper cables, and the cables can be reused, so they'll be recycled. We also are finding with fiber, because of its resiliency, there are fewer service calls and what we call truck rolls, which helps reduce fleet emissions overall. And then, you know, as Hawaii becomes the first fully fiber-enabled state in the nation, we find our state transition to be a national model for sustainable broadband. And that's all I have. Any questions?
Any questions for Janine?
Oh, of course.
Okay.
Aloha, Janine. Just for some background, I'm very grateful for the help I had from Hawaiian Tel in the 1980s when I was running an interconnect business in Marshall Islands. But I wonder what the formal definition, definition of fiber enabled means, because, for example, my neighborhood is on Oahu is mostly not fiber enabled, because the original service was direct burial and not a conduit. There's no conduits to pull fiber in.
Mm-hmm. So those are the last. I know we've had this conversation, Dan. Where you live is going to be, you know, one of the outlier areas, one of the last areas that we're going to be able to get to, because of the current status of how the infrastructure was installed. And we found this with like Kauai, that in areas where there is direct burial, there needs to be conduit installed. And so that, you know, that will start happening. It is happening in many phases, and we're moving. We prioritize, you know, both rural areas and what we call low-hanging fruit. There are other areas that even beyond 2026 we will need to get to, because they are either gated communities or multi-dwelling units, which require right of entry. And some of those contracts that are serving those condominiums and buildings, and associations. Those are long-term contracts, so we have to wait for those to be up to bid again. But we do have a plan and program to reach all those areas. And if there is any interest, if you happen to live in a MDU or condo, I'm going to go ahead and put my contact information in the chat, and please, feel free to reach me. I can put you folks in touch with our team managing those areas, and we can get that process started. But that is, that is a process that is not fully within our own control, and so we are working through them as we can.
Okay, thank you. I have another. Well, I'll mention
Dan,
it.
Dan, I'm gonna have to wind the questions down because we have one
I
more
agree.
presenter,
I agree.
and I wanted to. Okay, so Sean, you have a quick comment, but I'm gonna have to move on to our next speaker.
Sure. Mostly, I just wanted to really thank you, Janine. This is so informative for us to hear from you exactly what's going on, and it's a very proud time to see the progress. And so, congratulations is the main thing I wanted to say. My sort of question that won't get answered today is, what are the impacts of the new owner, Nomura, for the company, and do we see a shift in the way labor is deployed? For example, the service calls, are they being done by contractors now versus, but anyway, you can answer this later. I just wanted to put it out there.
Yeah, I'm not prepared to take that, but if you'd like to, please send me your question directly, and I can, I can get some answers.
Thanks.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Janine.
You.
Very briefly, are you going to celebrate your first bead connection, like I guess Louisiana did, or something like that?
We would like to, but we haven't gotten started there yet. But we're very much looking forward to moving ahead with the bead phase of the project, which would incorporate roughly 6,000 other locations in very underserved areas.
Yeah, and please do lead us to be the first state to be fully connected. Thank you.
Thank you.
So thanks, Janine. Thanks, Dan and Sean and Janine. You're more than welcome to join us whenever you have updates you want to share with the Broadband Hui. So mahalo for coming on. And I do want to kind of stick to an agenda, which I'm only giving a short amount of time for our next presenter, which is Mark Kimura. And Mark, I wanted to give you a chance to share with our participants here your website called Datatrove, and maybe in the future you might be able to get into more detail. But you can go ahead and share your screen and then talk about what the Datatrove is.
Sure. Let's see. I think this is it. So my day job. Oops. Oh yeah. My day job, as I mentioned in my chat comment, is I'm a data. Do I share it? Oh, let's share. Share. Can you guys see it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm a data scientist. I'm an AI engineer. I'm a geek. Also, I used to be an avid user of public data, maybe 10, 12 years ago. And but even back then, I noticed that the Hawaii's public data is scattered around. And there were over 50 data sources, and in different formats, sometimes PDF, sometimes Excel, sometimes dashboard, sometimes with API. It wasn't super easy to use. And because of the AI, I tried to solve the problem by not fixing the upstream data, but by cataloging every single data set that exists in Hawaii, the metadata, and also the AI inspect each data set and tables, and try to describe everything and find connections between data sets, and let AI agent take care of it, take a bit analysis and finding data. So I carefully inspected and ingested over 8,000 data sets in Hawaii, which consist of a little over 80,000 fields of metrics from so far 55 data sources. And using a technology in AI called RAG, which the name doesn't really matter. The important thing is that it's AI can actually understand and search from massive data and then kind of find the relationships between data sets. And I'll just give you a demo, actually. When I was listening to the previous speakers, I was running this thing. So I noticed that in the agenda sheet, there was a YouTube. I took the transcript of the YouTube about the Maui's internet connection. I pasted it and asked his app to find relevant data sets. And here's the result. So it gives you the citable pages and links, and also a directed data link, data download links. And then it will also tell you how to use them to answer your specific question. And so that's basically it. But you can also, if you click on this analyze data, it will launch an autonomous AI agent to actually download and analyze the data, get insights, and visualize data, and give you some insights and conclusions. So this is all done by AI agent, and within probably 5 to 10 minutes. You can also have to use GIS within the AI agent session, and all of this. And basically, when you query a question or try to ask what you're looking for, you can visualize the data sets it has and find connections and what are the relevant data sets and tables, and make connections, like I said, and try to make useful data collection for your specific purpose, specific answers or questions. Another example, I just put found this description on the SB3001, and I asked Datatrove to find data sets that would support this bill. And this. And within maybe 2 minutes or so, it gives you all this kind of relevant data sets from different sources and where exactly you find those data tables and sets, and so on. And luckily, I had some time to actually shoot this data analysis button as well. And also, because there's so many holes and kind of, I have to be honest, and glitches in the original data, during the ingestion time, I recorded all the data errors on the upstream so that the AI doesn't get confused, so that it's aware that what you can use or what you can't use and how fresh the data is. And so I did analysis, and say maybe it took like maybe 5 minutes. It gave you all sorts of analysis to support the bill. And I did that during this meeting, actually, 30 minutes ago. So I haven't really had time to read, so I don't know if it really supports the bill or not, but something that you definitely have to, as a human, you will have to inspect it, and perhaps actually download the data and then double check. But this is probably a good exploration phase for anything, any journalism, policy making, and nonprofit and grant writing, and so on, or small businesses. And yeah, so if you go to Datatrove.ai and look at the gallery, and I've already shared some of the common questions different people may have. So, and that's the end of my presentation.
So Mark, this is great, and I do want to give Tan and Kieran a chance to answer questions. And maybe based on interest level, we could probably have a separate session with you just to dedicate maybe going through a case study or a particular use case where a nonprofit might be interested in using something like this. So Tan, you want to ask your question? And we only got a few minutes left, so I kind of have to make it quick.
I wanted to say, Mark, this is a beautiful site. Bert invited me to check it out a couple of weeks ago, and not only is the presentation great, but it has a calming effect. I use a lot of AI tools and I get frustrated with the tools, and before I know it, my emotions are up here. And this presentation really helped keep me calm while I was doing my investigation. So please know that I really like this tool, because my next question might feel a little off, but I did a question to your tool and I said, tell me about the coqui frog problem on Hawaii Island. And then I threw in a little quote that said, and give me Python code to analyze that result, right? And so I didn't know if you had intended for the tool to be able to write application code, but it came back and it gave me sources about the coqui frog problem, and it did note that it was stale, which you built in there is awesome. But it also provided me with Python code. And, I don't know if you were planning to restrict it only to data sources, or if that was an unintended consequence that it did throw out code.
I'm still exploring what would be a good UX and UI for this application. So, that's great feedback, actually. I want to kind of listen to whoever, might benefit from this. So I haven't really decided. And there's certain uncertainties around it because it's AI. I didn't know that this tool can actually give you the Python code. So that's a new discovery. Yeah. I knew that internally it actually writes Python code on the fly and do analysis. So it's not surprising, but I didn't know it would actually do it. So I'm still discovering what it does.
Thanks, Tom, for that question. Kieran?
Hi, Mark. Thank you for sharing this. I'm the CEO of the Kapolei Chamber of Commerce, and I can see just how much this will even help my organization on a policy level, like you said, journalism, all that. My question is very simple. It has to do with your subscription. What are the things on a subscription level that a user would be able to use that they wouldn't have on the free?
So I may have to even ask you for advice because I just built it. And I know right now, if people use it, I'm losing money. And I did put, like a $49 pro subscription. I have no idea how much people use it. So I don't know the right price levels and subscription levels. Right now, you can sign up for pro level and there are certain limits. But please give me feedback and what would be a good price point, and then how much you might use it like a user, and potentially, it would be great if I could find a funder and make it just totally free, of course.
I would find a friend that has marketing background to help you with that.
That'd be great.
No, Kieran, that's a great question, and maybe there's a way that we can help Mark kind of co-design, co-develop, this application. Just a little bit of history. Mark spent a lot of time in Hawaii working at OceanNet. He's a good friend of Ian Kitajima and myself, and has been involved with sort of the AI movement back when he was training computers to learn how to differentiate aloha shirts from regular shirts. So anyway, this is something that I think has some great business development opportunity. So if anybody's interested, please feel free to email me, and then we could maybe we could have a more intimate one-on-one session or a smaller group session with Mark, and we can talk about this. Now, so I want to move on. I want to give Dan a chance to share about something that Dan and Mapuna Vai is doing with the Office of Economic Revitalization. And Dan, sorry, I kind of squeezed you in at the last sort of minute.
No worries, and thank you everyone for sticking around for an extra minute or two. I promise I'll make it really short. Mapuna Vai has teamed up with the Office of Economic Revitalization. I saw Constancio on here, who is with OER, but I just wanted to share that we're putting together a free class on June 24th from 9 to 4 at IAEA Public Library. And the goal is to introduce Oahu's multi-generational workforce to AI. And we hope to teach individuals who work for either a profit or nonprofit organization so they can return to their home bases and teach their 5 to 50 employees how to use AI practically, responsibly, and safely. All you need is a letter of support from your organization, and you just need to go through an application process. And that deadline for the application is Wednesday, May 27th. Bert, is it okay if I share the link in the chat? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Feel
want to
free.
put
Yeah.
my email too, because I feel like this Broadband Hui mastermind might have important things that they might want to recommend we put into the curriculum. It's not completely developed, but I definitely would love to add in some of the things that were discussed on this call today. There's just such a wealth of information. So if anybody has any ideas for things that we should cover in the class, I'll be one of the instructors. And thank you so much for allowing me to share this announcement.
Yeah, sure thing. Drop your contact info and a link to the actual sign up for anybody that might be interested. And Daniel, mahalo for joining us for this quick announcement about AI safety, AI for business that you guys are doing in partnership with OER. Okay, so with that, I am going to share the closing screen here. And I want to mahalo everybody for joining us on the 270th Broadband Hui call. Our next call is going to be on the first Wednesday of June, which is going to be June 3rd. So I hope to see you all then. I'll send out an agenda before that. But if you have any suggestions, feel free to email me. You know how to get a hold of me. So in the meantime, y'all stay safe. Y'all stay awesome. Aloha, everybody. Thank you.
Aloha, Bert. Thank you.